Okay, welcome everybody. You're bit different day to last year. Those who can remember last year, it was about to start snowing. It was horrific, and I remember never standing here being so cold in all my life. But there we are. We're going to parade. I'm going to just pick out. We picked out 12 horses that are going to Cheltenham to show you. And at the end of it, I'll show you Surname, who's obviously a bit of interest. He's the highest rated horse in training. You've all seen him. Who won the Betfair Chase the other day, but we'll show him. But some of them are in the front yard. Quite a lot of them will be coming around the back, so I will need a gap in the middle in a minute so the horses can come up and then by you. But you're okay to creep up towards that wall there and here, and then you'll see in a minute. They'll just come up through and wander around, stand there, and I mean at the end of it, if there's anything we need to do some photographs or like when Clan's out, if you just shout what you want, we can sort it out. We're going to do some pictures at the end of it, or individually. So I'm going to start with the first horse we got, which is a horse called Give Me a Copper. Would be one of our interesting ones on the first day. Is in the Ultima Handicap Chase. He's actually at the moment favourite. He's a very talented horse. He's fragile but talented. He is a young horse. I think he won his only point-to-point couple of bumpers. Novice hurdling, he won a couple for us. Came in last season, won his novice chase at Kempton. Sustained an injury and missed the best part of 18 months. Came back at Kempton the other day with a big weight and ran a really good fourth. Travelled extremely well, jumped well, just got a little bit tired from the back of the second last. And if he hadn't been anywhere at all for a gallop or anything, I'd purposely, well, he looks fantastic, I'd purposely left it to that race and bring him on. The idea to go to the Ultima, and then if he gets and goes well in that, he'll go on to the Grand National. He's not had a great deal of experience, but he jumps really, really well. He's a solid jumper, class horse. And I'd be very hopeful of a real big run from him on the first day in the festival in the Ultima Handicap Chase. Give Me a Copper. Right, this is Top of the Game, who at the moment has entrance in the RSA, which is favourite to run in, and he's also in the JLT over 2.5, but he's almost certain to run in the RSA. The only way he'd run in the JLT if weather changed and it was a foot deep in mud, which isn't going to happen. But this probably is as tall a horse you'll ever see in training. He's well at 17.2 plus, he's huge as you can see, lots of ability, won a point-to-point, good novice hurdler. Last season over hurdles, he won a 100 grand handicap at Sandown over hurdles. And then he got beat to head in the Coral Cup at the festival. Then went chasing this year. Bit of a disaster on his first run, but it may not have been such a bad thing. He whipped round at the start at Exeter, and the race that Des Obeaux won. Basically, the flag went down. He just spooked, whipped round, and then panicked. And by the time he'd gone, he'd given them the best part of 25 or 30 lengths. Having said that, he jumped round nicely behind because it was all about experience that day. Jumped brilliantly and actually then finished second to Des Obeaux, which is actually really top-class form considering he'd given him 25 lengths. Then he went to Kempton over Christmas and ran in the Cordo Star Feltham Novice Chase, which is Grade 1. It was second to Le Bagarois, who won a Grade 1 the other day at Leopardstown. Again, that's really good form. And actually that day, he looked like the winner turning in, and Harry sort of sent him on. The minute he hit the front, as he'd done in the past, he was a little bit green. And he finished second, but that's good form. So we purposely haven't run him since. He goes well fresh, and he'll go straight for the RSA. Hopefully we can go on to Aintree with him afterwards, rather than having had one run and probably miss Aintree. But he's a high-class chaser in the making. He ran at Kempton. He ran very, very well. He jumps nicely. He's got lots of class, and he's one of our, hopefully big chances out of Cheltenham in the RSA. And he's just come right in his skin. Looks really, really well. Top of the game.
If you went on to Aintree, would he go in the top end?
No, novice chase. He won't run in the top, he'd run in the Grade 1 novice chase. Right.
Just you're not concerned about a short experience?
No, he jumps, he's won a point to point. He jumps, when he does, he jump very, very well. Yeah. He's got lots of jumping ability, Have we got a Posh Trish. Right, this is an interesting filly. This is a mare called Posh Trish. And she is going to run in the Troll House Mares Novices Hurdle. And on the Thursday, very good mare. She's rated 143, which is one of our highest rated novice hurdlers. And I see Epitante, who's Nicholls, who's favourite, is rated 143 too. One thing this mare, she's had a bit more experience. She won a bumper at Cheltenham. She's won 4 times over hurdles. She's tough, she gallops, she won twice in a week over Christmas, won a listed race at Taunton over 2 mile. She's a real proper mare who jumps and gallops and just what you want at Cheltenham. She would love a bit of cut in the ground if we could get some, and probably wants a bit further, but we've been running them over shorter, making plenty of use of her, and she's got, you know, really good form. So it's nice to have a good mare to run. She'll be a great chase in time, even though she's a filly, but this time, we purposely haven't run her since Christmas because she's been quite busy. She goes well fresh, and she doesn't need any experience, so she hasn't run for any other reason. That we just kept her really fresh and had one good go at the mares race, and we think she's got a great chance. There's obviously some nice mares in the race, but she's going to be one of the leading ones and hopeful of a big run. Posh Trish. Great with the sun out. You can see it, they all look so well in their coats at the moment this time. One thing, ours have been looking really well, really early this year, haven't they, Clipper? Over the last 3 weeks they've been looking really well, which I always think this time of year they never run well if they don't look well in their coats. This is an interesting horse. This is a horse called Friend or Foe, who's one of the favourites for the Fred Winter. It's a race we've done really well in the last few years. And he's a horse that we thought might be a Fred Winter type when we bought him. He'd had 2 runs in the summer in France, was 4th in both of them, had some nice experience. He joined us early in September. It was a bit of a weedy thing, he needed a bit of time, so we looked after him, built him up, come along quietly. He went to Taunton over Christmas, made all the running and won very, very nicely. So he's going to mark a 128. The handicapper said he was going to start on 115, and he's quietly crept up, went to 123, then 128 without even running. Some of the horses who run behind him had run okay, but we purposely haven't run him since because it's pointless going winning again and going up another £7. So off 128, the last 3 or 4 years he would have got in towards the bottom of the weights. Real nice horse. He went to Wincanton last week. We took 6 up there. He galloped really nicely. So the only reason he hasn't run since December is that I didn't really want to go again. So he's had 3 runs, but he's a typical French horse. He's done lots of jumping in France. We've done a lot with him. I'll be very, very hopeful, you know, he'll have a good run in the Fred Winter. That's Friend or Foe. Right. This has been a prolific winner for this year. This is Destin, who is, I think, his second favourite for the Triumph for the moment behind Sir Eric. Shortest one of the British runners. He's won his last 6 for us. He got beat at Chepstow first time up. Just was a bit green that day and was inexperienced regards to British racing. The hurdling has not been beat since then. He won a Grade 1 at Chepstow over Christmas. He's won a couple of Grade 2s, one at Cheltenham, and then he came back the other day and won at Haydock, the Victor Ludorum, which is a juveniles. And actually, I was surprised how well he won because we just thought he was big and well that he'd need the run, which he did, and he still managed to win. He's improved since then, and he's a proper tough 4-year-old, that just what you want to run well in a Triumph. You can make the running if they go no gallop, he can be nice and handy, jumps well, and he keeps galloping. He'll gallop up that Cheltenham. I mean, he's one of our leading chances next week. I know Sir Eric is very short price favourite, but, you know, they want to be tough to be going past this lad because he's got it all. He jumps, gallops, and, okay, he might not have been a great flat horse like Sir Eric, but he's a proper jumping horse who's done very well and just keeps winning and keeps getting better. So, hopeful of a very big run from him.
He's gone from strength to strength.
He has, yeah. Yeah, and he was very impressive at Haydock the other day. Sean was well impressed with him, and you know, just because he hasn't got that sexy flat appeal as Sir Eric, he's probably a bigger price than he probably should be. But you don't get many juveniles win 6 on the trot, and he can win on soft ground, better ground, and he showed his well-being the other day. So we're excited about him and looking forward to running him. Destin. I have a job to see. He's had 6 runs, doesn't he? He's big and well.
He doesn't look like a juvenile, does he?
No, he's not. Real strong horse he is, yeah. Proper horse. And, you know, he's had all those runs, but he hasn't gone light, and he just needed that run. So, little break from him from Chepstow to... Right, this is Prezi M, who won last year's Half Asleep. He won last year's Grand Annual. He's a bit behind in his coat compared to some of the others, but often the horses that are what you could almost say black are always a bit slow this time of year. But for him, he's quite well forward. He looks quite well. He's just half asleep half the time. He's a pound higher than when he won last year. He ran at Sandown the other day on soft ground. He doesn't really want it too soft, and he's a funny horse. He always comes good in the spring. He's run a couple of okay races, but he's probably handicapped right on his limit. And last year, everything went well for him. The ground was soft. They went absolutely flat in the race. He was in trouble early on, and he just jumped and stayed on, picked them off, and stayed on well up the hill. But he's just got to sharpen his jumping up a little bit. But as I said, one thing with him, he always comes good in the spring. So he's off 151 this year as opposed to 150 last year. So that would indicate he's got a chance. The more it rained for him, probably the better, just to slow them down a fraction. But if he can jump really well and put in one of his better rounds of jumping, he's not without a chance again, obviously. Prezi M.
The Grand Annual again, then, please.
Yeah, Grand Annual. Yeah. Might have a better one than in there. See him in a minute. Is that Grand Sancy? Yeah. Right. This is a real tough one. This is Grand Sancy, who will run in the Supreme Novices on the first day. He's now rated, was he 152, 153, Clifford? Which is high for a novice. He's had a great season. He's won his smaller races. He then was just beaten in the Tarworth by Collins' horse, who obviously you all saw yesterday. What's his name? Okay, he beat him half a length. We then ran him the other day, Wincant in the Axminster Hurdle, or whatever they call it now. I can't forget the name. Kingwell Hurdle, and actually won, beating Sco Royale and Vision de Floss, who won the National Spirit on Saturday. And he really toughed it out for a novice, gave them weight, and he's a proper horse now. Again, he looks fantastic. He doesn't look light in any way at all. He's come out of the race well. He's every bit as good as Alpha Off and Nolan that won the Supreme for us before. He's probably quite a big price. El Dancer is his favourite. He's rated the same as him. I wouldn't say there's too much between them myself. And one thing with this horse, he's tough, he jumps, and he keeps on galloping, as you saw at Wincanton last week. So we think we've got a great chance with him in what's an open-looking race. Just done nothing but improve. I think the last novice we ever had that won the Kingwell was Azertiup, who went on and won the Arkle and the Champion Chase. So it'd be nice to think he might go on. And again, he'll be chasing next season, I suspect. But he's in the form of his life at the moment. He's versatile as regards ground, and obviously looking forward to running him in the opening race. Grand Sancy.
Likes to be in the front, up pace, or it doesn't matter?
I mean, earlier in the season, he was keen, and when he won at Chepstow first time, he was last turning in, but he probably had 3 stone in hand that day. But the other day, we just rode him nice and handy, got a lead. Faster they go, the better for him.
Given the form, what you said, why do you think he's not shorter in the betting? And why is he not?
He doesn't know what price he is, and I don't know, because he has got really good form. Here we got Frodon. He's a proper little horse. Actually, I always call him little, but he's not as small as you think. He's just not a big horse. This is Frodon, who's had an absolutely wonderful season this year. He's just improved and improved. He won the Old Roan first time out. He was in second at the Open meeting. We probably didn't ride him quite as aggressively that day as we should have done. Changed tactics, won the Caspian Caviar Gold Cup with top weight, jumped and travelled, and then obviously won the Cotswold Chase the other day. Again, he jumped and travelled. Just to be honest with you, he'd had a break, and we'd left plenty to work on that day, and he was big enough. I kept seeing him walk around the paddock before the race, thinking, oh my God, he's too fat. And he probably had just needed the run and got a little bit tired from the back of the last. He's almost described as like his first run in the season again. Last year, after he'd won on that day the handicap, we went and ran him in the Ascot Chase, and he had a mega hard race behind Wade and Patiently. Both, I think, him and Q-Card got finished that day. They'd had a real hard race, and then he went to Cheltenham and Aintree was way over the top. So we haven't run purposely since Cheltenham in January to keep him fresh and well. As you know, there's been a lot of debate about what he's going to run in. He's in the Ryanair and he's in the Gold Cup, and I'm going to confirm for both and make a plan what we run him in, depending on who's going to run in what race, and we'll run him in the race we think we've got our best chance. I'm not worried about the trip in the Gold Cup because he'll gallop and stay all day, but it will be a lot. Obviously, it'll be a tougher race probably than the Ryanair over that trip, and the Ryanair may cut up. So we're just going to keep our options open and decide next week, or even on the Tuesday before we have to declare what races we run in with. Paul's just said, leave it entirely to me. You know, we don't want to just run him in the Gold Cup just for the sake of it, if we thought we could win the Ryanair. So we'll keep our options open. But he's a tough horse, keeps on improving and jumps and gallops, and whatever he did last year, for whatever reason, just a little bit like Surname, he's just left all that form behind. He's rated 169 now, which is right up there with the best. So, you know, he'll give a good account of himself, whatever. All right? Who we got there? Who? Pic Doriot. I'm going to show you quite an interesting juvenile now. He's called Pic Doriot, that none of you have seen run. He's actually in the Triumph Hurdle. He's got a French mark over here equivalent of 149, which puts him right up there with the best juveniles in this country and Ireland. He's a proper big chasing sort of horse that we bought with a future in mind. He's won 3 times in Auteuil in the autumn, and he was placed in a Grade 1. So he's got proper form, and he's a real nice horse. We took him to Wincanton last week for a racecourse gallop, and we were like thrilled with what we saw. I did enter him for a novice hurdle this weekend at Kelso, but sadly he's not qualified, and I always get caught on that. Because he won a novice hurdle in France in March, you're eligible to run in juvenile hurdles in this country, but you can't run against older horses. So you're a novice against juveniles, but not against older horses. So technical hitch, he can't run on Saturday. And I was going to run him on Saturday with a view of seeing where we were. So now I haven't really got anywhere. I either go straight to the Triumph Hurdle with him, or we skip that and go to Aintree with him and possibly look at running him in one of the better French 4-year-old races in Auteuil in May. But you can see he's a lovely horse. Bought as in to go chasing in time, and that'll be his game. But he's got a lot of ability, and to be rated 149 says it all. So he could end up in the Triumph. I suspect we'd only probably go if it was really on the soft side. If the ground was fastish or good, you know, spring ground, which he's not been used to, we'll probably wait and go to Aintree with him. But he's a very interesting horse, and one we're all excited about, whatever route we go down. Pic Doriot.
So his debut for you could be in the Triumph Hurdle?
Could be, yeah, it could be, because there's nothing else I can run him in.
A bit like a pretty swam, is it?
Yeah, just like him, but he galloped like him too.
Yeah.
But he's a good horse, he is. But whether it's like he got experience, it's quite hard for a horse to have him run around Auteuil all the time and have his first debut at Cheltenham. It just catches because it's up and down and round a bit. So I don't know. We'll see. But it didn't, as you said, didn't do all pissy on anyhow. Is it Getaway Trump? Right, this is Getaway Trump. There's another one who's got really decent form. He was second to champ in the Grade 1 Challow at Newbury over Christmas, ran really well, having won 2 novice hurdles before that. Was 4th in the Betfair hurdle at Ascot the other day, when it just didn't go right for him. He is a little bit of a hold-up horse when they go good gallop, and they went no gallop at all, got a bit behind, stayed on and finished 4th. Really wants 2.5 miles. My dilemma now is what race to run him in. He's in at Kelso on Saturday in a £50,000 novice hurdle, which is sort of tempting. If I did that, he'd go to Aintree. On the other hand, he's still only rated 143. So going into the Betfair hurdle, he was on a par with Al Dancer, who's now 153, 52, 153. He's actually, if he was meeting him, he'd be on very good terms. And obviously, only just been beaten by Champ, who's favourite for the Ballymore's good form. So I could run him in Ballymore, but the Coral Cup off 143 is looking quite attractive, just on rating. So I've got to make a decision what I do with him over the next week or so. I suspect I'll end up running him in the Coral Cup. So I think 143 is very well capable. And if Champ went and won the Ballymore, and he's in there off 143, he'd be one of the leading lights, without a doubt. So that's Getaway Trump. Okay. Tractor. What do you want me to come in? Is that Magic Saint? Right, this is a really nice 5-year-old. This is a horse called Magic Saint, who won at Wincanton 10 days ago, won the 2-mile handicap chase. He was a 4-time winner in Auteuil last year over hurdles and over fences. He just took a little while to acclimatise. He ran very well at Haydock on his first run for us and just needed it. Ran a little bit keen. Then he went to Ascot over 2.5. Got the hang of our fences, was a little bit far out of his ground. Gave him a little bit more time. Went to Wincanton, I said 10 days ago. Absolutely sluiced in over 2 miles. Jumped well, travelled well. And I was always training him for the Grand Annual in mind. So he'll head off to the Grand Annual. I'd say leading chance on what I know of him. I just think he's a progressive horse who will just keep going forward. And we really like him. A lot of the French horses just take a little bit of time to get used to our regime, way of training, and also feeding. But more importantly, funny enough, the style of running over here is completely different to what happens in France. So some of them just take a couple of runs just to get the hang of it. But he got the hang of it all right at Wincanton the other day. Travelled brilliantly, jumped well. And Darryl, who rode him, was absolutely thrilled with him. So hopefully he might be better than a handicapper in time, but he'll go to Cheltenham for the Grand Annual. It's Magic Saint. Stand up, old man. He's half asleep too. Oi.
Sunshine, I think.
Yeah, there we are. Good. I'm sure you'll be interested in this one. This is Clan Des Obeaux, who, as you know, is one of the favourites for the Gold Cup. Had a great season this year. Ran very well the first time up in the Betfair chase. When we knew he'd improve enormously from that day to Kempton. Won the King George very well. And then won well at Ascot last week, the Betfair Denman chase. Everything, touch wood, has gone to plan. He looks great. He's come out of the race very, very well. And he's just progressive, you know. The King George, he won nicely, won with his ears pricked. And he won well. I mean, we keep thinking it was a soft race the other day, but he actually beat a dual Grade 1 winner in Terrafort and absolutely murdered him. And it was good to see him travel so well the other day, jump and like wing the last and quicken all the way to the line. Because he had basically been a bit babyish. He's just took for a while. Last year we couldn't really train him how we wanted. He had babyish issues. He had a splint, which held us up all the time. And from the day he won his first 3-year-old hurdle, we always thought this is going to be a proper chaser. Everyone keeps saying, oh, he hasn't won at Cheltenham in 4 starts. Well, the first time he ran as a juvenile, he was only just beaten in a juvenile hurdle, a listed race, ran very well for a chasing. Should never run in the Triumph hurdle. It was just part owned by Jared Sullivan at the time. We wanted to run him. If Mr. Barber had owned him outright, he wouldn't have even been in the Triumph hurdle because he's not a Triumph horse. He was then second as a 5-year-old, just turned 5. He was really 4 to Whisper in the Dipper Chase, which is good form. And then last year, as a 5-year-old, he carried 11 stone 12 in the Caspian Caviar Gold Cup and finished second to horse carrying 10 stone 2. And just basically still was a bit green. And Harry got off that day and said he's still learning about the job. Now we're where we want to be. He's an experienced horse who's mature. He's done the talking himself his last 2 runs. So you can all see where we are, and we're really excited about running him in the Gold Cup. Does look great. He's really good in his skin, and for a prep race, nothing could have gone better really at Ascot there, because we're a bit nervous in case anything goes wrong. Or you imagine he'd gone down there first and tripped up, or cut himself, or run a bit older. But it just went super the other day, and you know, he of all the horses that are in the Gold Cup is probably the most improving youngster. A lot of them are exposed horses. We don't know what he'll end up being rated or where he'll end up, and hopeful. You know, Coulter won his first Gold Cup when he was 7, and he's the right age. So fingers crossed, some luck in running them and going right. He'll run a big race. So there we are. We'll have him back out in a minute. Clan Des Obeaux.
How would you compare him to your other Gold Cup winners, Paul? He's not a Denman sort, is he? But,
Well, he's a cross between the two, probably. He's not a Denman sort, but he does what the others do, keeps winning. And, you know, King George winners win a Gold Cup, Seymour Business, Corto, whatever, and he's just a good horse, isn't he? It's hard to compare him with him. I mean, he's just a great. And I've just pulled this one out. He's not going to Cheltenham unless I supplement him for the Gold Cup. That's actually surname. Who is the highest rated horse in training, which is been an interesting talking point. But, you know, ratings are achieved on what they do. He's just an enormous improver, a bit like Clan. He's just needed a bit of time to grow into his frame. And me and Clifford learn about them all the time. And you're always changing things to get them the best out of them. And he has just got where we wanted him to be. Obviously, he won the handicap 2 runs ago at Ascot by like half the track. He was just so impressive. and then he won the Betfair Chase last week, the Grade 1. And I mean, you don't see many horses. If you'd have took him out and you'd had the 3 Calitolog, Waiting Patiently, and Collins horse all racing together, you'd have said, what a race. And, you know, they all finished wet. And there he was like 100 yards in front of them, really. And he's all class. I mean, quite honestly, won 17 lengths very, very easily. Just pulled himself up, come back next day, ate his grub. You wouldn't know he'd had a race. So he's obviously got a huge engine. My dilemma now is where I go with him. He definitely won't be running at Cheltenham or Aintree, not this year. We will go left-handed again in the future because he ran okay left-handed last year without winning, but he was over the top at Aintree when he ran the last time. And he's such a better horse this year, we'd probably get away with it. But for now, we're going to stick right-handed, and he'll either go to Punchestown or Sandown, ground permitting, and then next year he'll be trained for the King George and Gold Cup, obviously. I mean, if we're going to go left-handed, we'll end up running him in the Gold Cup, I'd say, because I think he'll end up getting more and more stamina next year. But that's a long, long way off. At the moment, it'll be Sandown, and then we'll make a plan to the King George next year. But he's a little bit like Coulton. He is quite versatile on testing old ground. You wouldn't be afraid to drop back in trip because he can go gallop and keep jumping. Takes a bit of catching. So whether he should or shouldn't be the top-rated horse in training, he's one of the best in training. He's a proper horse of middle distance and take a good one to beat him, I'd say, over that trip.
Would those front-running tactics always be employed, or could
He's
you
just
drop him in?
You could drop him. Yeah, I mean, funny, when Terfort beat him last year, he did drop him for a circuit.
Yeah.
You could, but it's just that is his. He loves to be bowling along in front.
Happy
and,
out there,
like,
better out
take a
there,
bit of sticking up with it. And
Yeah.
he's just at home. Everything he's always done. He's been a bit of a tearaway.
Yeah.
He likes to be in front, but he's relaxing in front and jumping and breathing. Got it all together. That was half the trouble. He'd sort of tear off in front and not relax and not breathe. Once they get all that together, then bingo, and it suits him doing that.
Yeah.
And it keeps him out of trouble. So yeah.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
that
yeah.
Punchestown the right way around, it's 3 miles.
Yeah,
isn't it?
that is, you know, that would. But I mean,
get that.
he should get that. Yeah, he should get 3 miles, but we'll see. Right, what do you want to do now, Clifford?